What's going on, everybody? Welcome into a Tuesday edition of Mile High Hockey. Good to have my guy, Mike Evans, back with me. Will Peterson here, as always. And Mike, the Avalanche, will they ever lose at Ball Arena again? Get a 5-2 win over the LA Kings last night in another game. And I feel like I've said this a handful of times, that they didn't even play all that well. They still win by 3 goals. They did get too late, an empty netter, and then Cale Makar. But they're now 16-0-2 in Denver this season. That is a point streak, obviously, of 18 games, tied for the second longest in franchise history, and a 14-game win streak overall at Ball Arena as well. Have not lost there since October in a shootout to the Carolina Hurricanes. Man, this team is a wagon right now, Mike. So much fun to watch. And really, those numbers I just gave you are kind of jarring, how unbeatable they are in the Mile High City.
Yeah, and I thought that win over the Kings was important. And Jared Bednar talked about the idea that sometimes you're going to have to win a game like this, especially in the playoffs, when you face a team that knows that they just can't skate with the Avalanche. So what are they going to do, especially when they come on the road? They're going to try to clog up the middle of the ice. They're going to always leave a couple of guys back, and they're going to really make you try to grind your way through the muck to try to win a hockey game and try to frustrate you and discourage you in the process. So for the Avalanche to be able to play these type of games during the regular season, get acclimated to them, get exposure to them, and win them in a style that maybe we're not typically used to watching the Avalanche play, I think that bodes really well, Will, because when you think about past Avalanche teams that have fallen short in the playoffs, let's face it, some of those teams that were big, physical, could lean on the Avalanche, really slow them down, the Avs struggled with. When they won the Cup a few years ago, that was a team that said, bring it on. Whatever style you want to play, we'll play it that night, and we'll beat you, or we'll beat you in that series. So I just think that you described it as kind of an ugly game, and it was, but you're more than likely going to have to play more games like that in the playoffs. So to play it and win it, I think that's a good sign.
Yeah, and the Kings certainly aren't slouches, and the Avalanche have shown they can win all kinds of ways. I mean, you go back to what happened in Vegas over the weekend, 6-5. And I mean, that was incredible. Scott Wedgwood even said himself, he didn't have his best game, but it didn't matter because the offense bailed him out. And on the other side of the coin, we've seen this team win 1-0 games. So I guess that leads me to where what's next. And you sort of brought it up is this actually a more sustainable formula than the year they won the Cup? And it felt like they always had to outscore everyone. We love Darcy Kemper and Pavel Francouz, but this goaltending duo is significantly better. Like, are you encouraged that sometimes you're going to turn it on, it's going to be 6-5, sometimes it's 1-0. Last night, for all intents and purposes, 3-2. They go on to win 5-2. I mean, that to me is the mark of a really good hockey team, that the scores are varying, yet the results are staying the same with Avalanche victories.
Yeah, and you look at the goaltending, you just do the tail of the tape between that team and this team, and how can you – I mean, it's so obvious that – Mackenzie Blackwood and Scott Wedgwood as a tandem, far superior to what they had the year they won the Cup. So to understand and to be able to see that this is a team that seems to be able to play different type of styles, and also has the kind of goaltending that if on that night where it's just a struggle, and they're really struggling with that kind of a style, or they find themselves in a shootout, that they have that kind of goalies that can come through in a way that, maybe they didn't have the year they won the Cup.
Yeah, definitely. One of the only frustrating things remaining with this team is still the power play, that pesky power play. We saw glimpses of life with it, kind of right before Christmas. And now last night to give up a shorthanded goal. I mean, the snark was flying on social media, Mike. Wouldn't they just be better declining the penalty and playing 5-on-5 and that kind of stuff? Obviously, you can't do that. This isn't the NFL. But you have a theory about the power play that I don't know if everyone's going to want to hear. Well, they're going to want to hear it. I don't know if they're going to love it. So hit me with it, my friend.
Yeah, consider this my last official snarky comment here on this podcast regarding the Avalanche for 2025. And I will try, but I can't promise I'll turn over a new snark-free leaf for 2026. But I find it funny that whenever folks defend the Mikko Rantanen trade, a lot of times what is said is, well, Mikko is just a power play merchant. And most recently, one of the radio guys for the Avs was making the comparison between Mikko and Marty Necas and was highlighting the fact that so much of what Mikko does comes on the power play. And yet in the same next breath, we're talking about how bad the Avalanche power play is. So I'm kind of having a little confusion here about the disconnect. I mean, when you have Jared Bednar after a win come out and say, when asked, is there a level of concern or panic about the power play? And he says in a word, yes, and then goes on to say, I wasn't happy with the power play. Hey, this is a recurring theme. After they lost in the playoffs last year, Ray Bennett got fired and made to be the scapegoat as the power play coach for this team. And so here we are, almost halfway through the season, and it's really the only blemish on what has been just an unbelievable season. But it says something to the level of expectation, the standard that the Avs have for themselves and that we have for the Avs, that even in the midst of what looks to be a record-breaking regular season, we're still keeping that eye on the big picture, which is the playoffs, and understanding some of the potential pitfalls there for the team. And after having watched the power play last year struggle in the playoffs, and now again in the regular season, it remains a huge question. I just wanted to get that little snarky comment out there that you got rid of the power play merchant, but now you're complaining about the power play. Something's missing there. So there you go. Final snarky comment of 2025.
No, I mean, it's a fair point. Listen, you and I have been two of the most vocal at Denver Sports and 104.3 The Fan about the Mikko Rantanen trade. Now, my personal thing was once Necas signed the contract, I did feel like the Mikko trade was in the past. And I understand when they see Dallas again, or if, maybe Minnesota will do them a favor. But when they see Dallas again in the playoffs, of course, Mikko Rantanen's going to get a ton of headlines again and all that. But you're right. Even for a guy like myself who's like, I've treated Mikko Rantanen kind of like an ex at this point. Like, I don't want to think about him. I don't want to talk. I just want to move on with my life. But then the guy who was so good at the power play is now gone. And the Avalanche, you said it, record-breaking season. It's the only thing they can't do. It does make you think a little bit of like, oh, you did trade the guy who was such a massive weapon on the power play, and it really hasn't been the same since. And Mike, we're going on 11 months now. I mean, that trade, the year anniversary is coming up sooner rather than later. It's an interesting nugget, and I think fair food for thought. Whether or not I don't want to talk about him, it's a relative talking point at this point in time.
Well, and I love the ex-girlfriend comp. It's like you moved on.
Yep.
You're happy.
Yep.
You love the one you're with right now. But for some reason, you haven't erased the ex from the contact info.
Nope.
Why not?
Still following on Instagram, still checking out the Facebook.
Well, I'm going to get around to that. I was going to get around to that, but you haven't yet. So what's the deal? I think the thing here, I love the way Necas has come in and played, and he's been terrific. But again, it's a weird balance I'm trying to find here, because while as a fan of the Avalanche, I understand it's all about winning Stanley Cups, and it's all about the postseason. And so there is an element usually of hurry up through the regular season. Can we get to the postseason? But this year, they're so good. They're so great. They're going to be flirting with some really historic stuff during this regular season. And I want to make sure that I enjoy the ride. And part of that ride is watching the brilliance of a guy like Marty Necas. But in the back of my mind is the understanding that, hey, dude, that's great, but you still have some playoff demons you need to slay here in your career moving forward. And the guy that, you took the place of, he was a pretty proven, playoff stud for this team. So until Necas does it come playoff time, there's always going to be that, there's a reason maybe why I still have the old Flames contact info still hanging around, just in case.
Just in case. Yeah, it's still saved. But in this case, not coming back. He's in Dallas on an 8-year deal. You can wish for it all you want, but he's got a ring on his finger. He's getting married as we continue this analogy. All right, but let's finish on this, Mike, because Nathan MacKinnon gets goal 399 last night, on the verge of more history. 400 goals could happen, obviously, as soon as their next game. We've talked so much about MacKinnon this year because he's, in my eyes, the best player in the world, and he continues to prove it. And his shootout goal the other night in Vegas was awesome. Comes spiraling in and then slams on the brakes and beats Carter Hart clean. Gets one last night when you were worried, is LA going to tie 3-3, get this thing to overtime? But 400 goals, that's a lot of freaking goals. Now it puts into perspective where Alex Ovechkin's at, more than double that. But at the same time, once you start reaching 400, and he'll get to 500, 600, 700, knock on wood, but he's getting into some pretty rare company here in year 13.
He is, and it's why I want to continue to bang that drum in any capacity that I and we can about, this guy going out and continuing to add to that hardware, because it's so important, because while we're living it right now and we're getting a chance to watch, greatness, all-time greatness happen right in front of us with somebody like a Nathan MacKinnon, there is still the idea of how do you make sure that as the years go by, as the decades go by, that legacy is at a place where, he's always going to be remembered. As he's doing it right now, you're like, there's no doubt that this guy's one of the best, to play the game. But I'm always kind of vigilant about, making sure that legacy down the road is protected. And so that's why I want to see him win that second Hart Trophy. I think that's very important for him. And I think it's very important for him to get that second cup. So when you think about, what's going on this season and how great this season is, but the real pressure that's going to be coming down the road here in April, May, and hopefully June, is the idea that, there's a lot on the line when you start talking about this core, this era, these players, and what their legacy can end up being, and the importance of adding another cup, adding another Hart Trophy. So that's why I just want to continue to bang the drum for what guys like MacKinnon and Makar are doing on a nightly basis.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Nathan MacKinnon told us at Media Day, quote, it would be disappointing if this core only got one cup. So they feel the same way. And don't forget, he could add a gold medal to his trophy case as well, coming up in the Olympics here in 2 months or so. All right, Mike, we'll do it again on Friday. Plenty more to react to. Really appreciate your time. Appreciate Dan. Producer,
so Friday will be January 2nd, right?
Yeah, 2026.
We'll be into 2026. Boy, already my resolution to be snark-free will be tested.
Yeah. Well, we had you on the show this time after a win, so that was an improvement over your last appearance, which was only their second regulation loss. They haven't had one since. So, no, I appreciate you filling in. It's always a treat to have the OG Mile High Hockeyer, Mike Evans, on with me. We'll do it again in a few days, and until then, enjoy your evening, everyone, and we'll catch you in about 72 hours.